There's no question the website must be built, and it needs to be built to work on a desktop. More importantly, it needs to work well on mobile, and it has to be fast. People want immediate gratification today, and they are not going to wait.
Well, hello and welcome to another guest interview here on the Profit with Law podcast. I'm your host, Moshe Amsel, and I'm excited. I'm excited for a number of reasons. Number one, because this is the very first recording out of my new office. Now, you can't tell on the video because I literally moved my video backdrop from one office to the other. Maybe you can, if you pay it close attention, you can see my lighting is off. I tried to play around with it before we hit record. I'm not thrilled with it. I think I need to kind of build something into the ceiling, come down instead of having them on tripods. It's a little bit of a smaller space than I had before for my office. Gave the family a much bigger space, but I got a smaller space out of it. But I'm excited to be here because we literally had to reschedule our podcast recordings 2 weeks ago because we weren't ready. I did not have internet access. Now I'm hardwired at a gig internet, and this is going to be, it's going to be exciting. I've got a bunch of recordings today, but this is the first one. So my energy is at its peak, and I'm excited because our guest, we have Gary Sarner, and Gary is the go-to expert in legal marketing that is not digital. So everything but the digital marketing, which so many people talk about. We have a ton of content where we talk about SEO and PPC and LSAs and everything that you might think of. But what about the other stuff? What about the offline stuff? What about the big branding stuff? What about billboards, radio spots, TV spots? I am excited to talk to Gary about that because it's not something that we cover regularly here on the show. And I do think that there's an opportunity for a law firm, if you are capitalized for it, or if you are large enough for it, to invest in that way, invest in that, in those types of marketing vehicles. But more importantly, don't take my word for it. I'd like to hear from Gary, understand what he's doing, because he's working with a bunch of law firms nationwide in putting these spots out for them. He's got the data, he's got the numbers, he knows what's going on. So we're going to dive into that with him. Just a quick little bit about Gary. Gary Sarner is an expert in legal marketing, transitioned from the vibrant radio industry to redefine media buying strategies for law firms across the country. With over 37 years of experience, he founded ROI 360 Plus in 2021. He is a brave soul because we all know what was going on in 2021. His agency isn't just about delivering results, it's about crafting media buying strategies that dominate the airwaves. With a genuine passion for his work, Gary finds fulfillment not only in professional success, but also in family life. He has 4 children, 2 of whom are currently studying law. And I didn't talk about this in the green room, Gary, but I've got 7 kids myself, 3 from my first marriage, 4 with my wife now. I know what it's like to have 4 kids under one roof. The other 3 they're already out of the house. But kudos to you for getting them to adulthood. Oh my goodness, what a journey. His mission is simple: to help clients flourish. Gary's approach blends innovation with dedication, offering a recipe for success that propels law firms forward in today's ever-changing landscape. Now that's the official bio, but we're going to bring Gary on and ask him the real bio. Gary, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Moshe. It's awesome. 7 kids. Kudos to you.
Yeah. And actually, and I don't know if my kids are okay with me saying this publicly on the podcast, but last year, I made 3 weddings in 3 months. August 3rd to November 6th, married all 3 of my daughters off, my older girls. So the younger ones are 8 and under. So they've got a ways to go. 3 weddings
so
and 3
guys, everybody listening to the podcast, you need to hire Moshe before you hire me. He's got to finish paying off 3 weddings in 3 months. Wow.
Yeah, and my wife and I had a baby in between wedding 2 and 3, but we won't go there. Here's the thing. All 3 of my daughters have let us know over the last few weeks, months, whatever, that they're expecting. So I'm going to be a grandfather, and I'm times 3 come the fall and early winter. So there's a lot of movement going on in my household and a lot of excitement. Now, the truth is all three of them don't live local. So one's in Phoenix, one's in Rochester, and one's in Jerusalem, Israel. So I've got some travel ahead that's not going to be conference based, and I really want to make business trips out of it all, but you can't predict when it's going to happen. So who knows? Stand by. Maybe I might just be like, hey, doing an impromptu meetup here for any lawyers in the area that want to get together. But really, life is what it's all about, right? Like family life and your purpose and you enjoying life is the most important thing. And sometimes we get lost in the business side of it that we lose sight of why we're even doing it. And I encourage everybody to just, live life to the fullest. Really, seize those moments, enjoy time with your family because kids are going to grow up. They're going to get married. They can go out of the house, but then you're going to want the freedom to go visit them wherever they are because there's no guarantee that they're going to be down the street. So build your business the right way. Focus on the thing that really matters, and it's all gonna work out for the best for you.
It's interesting that your kids have moved away. I struggle with getting all four together just for a dinner. And the whole summer, they're here because I've got one in law school and one in pre-med up at UF. My oldest lives down on Brickell. And then my middle daughter from my second marriage is in our old home. But they have their own lives. And something my dad said to me when I was getting married the first time, he says, you don't know what love is. You don't understand how mom and I feel. This is on the way to getting married in the limousine. And he says, but for some strange reason, she wants to marry you. She doesn't need you. But the moment you guys have a child, and in that moment, you will fully understand what love is. And I remember the day my daughter Sydney was born. What a life-changing moment. Because today, I could tell my kids how wonderful parenting is, or somebody that I speak to in the legal industry, how wonderful parenting is, and what a joy and all the good things you get from raising children. If they don't have one, they don't get it.
This is true.
So that's probably more of a topic that I truly enjoy speaking about versus how to get more cases, how to get more cases, how to get more cases, because I hear that every day, all day long, and it doesn't matter how great the month is, everybody wants more. And any law firm that is investing in themselves and in their marketing, they want a return on investment today. And based on the way you introduced me, I tell lawyers two things on the initial conversation that I have with a law firm. And you only need two things to succeed in marketing. You need balls, which is the money, because you got to make the investment. But more important than that is you need to have patience. And that is absolutely one of the hardest things to have, no matter what business you are in. People open retail stores. They expect on day one, floodgates are going to open, everybody's coming in. And it doesn't work like that. Because if they don't know who you are, what you do, and the benefit that they're going to get from coming to your business, why are they going to find you? Because at the end of the day, in today's world, over 90% of all customer acquisition In the legal field, the last touch point is Google. So how the hell do you know if your radio, your television, or your billboards are working when the attribution is going to go to Google?
It's a really good question. And it's a big challenge even for people who are specializing in SEO, right? Because you do all the things right, you get somebody to rank, top of page, number one spot, but then somebody checks them out and then they go and Google their name so they can read their reviews, and then they're coming in through another door.
There are so many different ways to give any business or a law firm what's happening on their online. The numbers can be manipulated based upon terms and search. So if you wanted to give a report to a law firm, you type in a bunch of different search terms, it's all going to go like this, up and down and up and down, and you're doing great here. We could do better here. It's quite interesting to see what is sent to law firms from digital marketing agencies. And listen, I don't poo-poo anybody. There are amazing digital firms in our space, and a lot of them. There are a lot of them. And we are asked all the time, do you have somebody that can help us with the bottom of the funnel? Because they know that's where they're going. And fortunately, we do have a lot of trust with about 6 digital marketing firms out there. If one of our clients or one of the law firms we're speaking with need help in that area, because I always say, until your home is fully built, you can't start inviting people to come to you. And the law office is not the home anymore. It is the website.
So, Gary, let me ask you this because I just want to be clear. Are you saying that before you're ready for top of funnel offline marketing, which is basically like those branding places where I'm just trying to like cast a really wide net and hoping that anybody who needs my services is going to recognize that they saw me on a billboard or they heard my spot on the radio, and now they're going to go and look for my firm, that before we do that, we should have our digital presence solidified so that when somebody is trying to find us from those big branding places and they're searching for us, they're able to then find us and come in, and there is a path for them to get to a phone call, a consult, whatever that next step is.
So depending on the size market that the law firm is in, there's no question the website must be built, and it needs to be built to work on a desktop. More importantly, it needs to work well on mobile, and it has to be fast. People want immediate gratification today, and they are not going to wait. Now, here's the fun part of it, right? They found you. Answer your fucking phone. I'm sorry I cursed, but the reality is missed opportunity is because the phone isn't answered fast, or the web submission or the chatbot, it's not happening fast enough. Do you know what percentage of people across the United States are going to need a personal injury attorney this year?
No idea.
Take a guess.
I don't know. 10%.
How about 2 to 3% is the average across the country? So when you watch TV listen to the radio, or look at billboards in your market, people are vying for such a small percentage of people that are actually going to need their services. I always say this. You can see my orange Sharpie. It's my favorite color. We
For
could
our audio
go.
listeners, Gary's holding up an orange Sharpie. Go ahead.
I'm holding it up. But if we were to go and do a campaign on the radio, on television, on billboards, we could make this orange Sharpie as sexy and as wonderful, and we could conceivably convince anybody to purchase a Sharpie. And if we invested, to keep it simple, $1,000 in marketing over the weekend, on Monday morning, we could come into the office and we know exactly how many Sharpies we sold. And if we were profitable with this campaign, we duplicate it over and over and over again. With a law firm, your marketing is 97 to 98% branding today. So when somebody is in need for your services, they know who you are, what you do, and how to reach you. Those three elements in marketing are the most crucial pieces you can have: billboards, radio, television.
Okay, Gary. I see the merit. I think our listeners know that there's definitely something to, I mean, the biggest firms wouldn't be doing it, right, if it wasn't successful. There's something to those public spots, and 2 to 3% sounds like a small amount, but when you're casting a net that includes everybody in the population, it's actually a really large number, even in a small area, right? So the numbers are there. And if 2 to 3% is really the market that is potentially looking for my service, and I know you gave PI as an example, but I'm sure that family law is just as in demand as PI. Divorces are either happening at a higher rate or a slower rate than injuries, but they're happening at a pretty fast clip, right? And it's not just divorce, right? Like I know that there's a lot more to family law. But we can take any practice area and we can say that there's a percentage, whether it's 1, 2, 3, 4 of the general population that needs your service. And getting in front of them in this way is it's a much less precise marketing method. It's more broad, but you're essentially getting in front of a lot more eyeballs than you would with anything else. Here's the question, and I think this is the start of the conversation, because I think anybody listening to this, like if they're a small law firm, they're thinking, yeah, that this is all great, but this conversation is not even relevant to me because I don't have, $100, $200, $300,000 marketing budget, right? Because we have this assumption in our minds of what something may cost. But it's not just the cost. There's another piece of it, and that's, I as a business coach, I spend so much of my time and so much of the things I talk about publicly to try to explain to firm owners that the spend comes before the result, right? So many business owners operate from when I have the cash flow, then I'm going to make the investment. And the reality is that if you're not spending like $1 million firm in marketing, you're not going to be at $1 million in revenue, right? You're not, if you're spending like a $300,000 firm, you're going to stay a $300,000 firm. If you are spending like a $10 million firm, you're not going to become a $20 million firm. So at every level, whatever we're spending has to be something that's going to facilitate the level we're trying to get to. So what I want to do is I want to unpack not who is this for, but what kind of spend are we talking about that somebody should anticipate because then they can start to look at it, even if they're a $300,000 solo firm. But if they say, okay, I'm going to go to the bank, I'm going to borrow $500,000 and I'm going to invest heavily in my marketing because I want to be a $2 million firm in the next 12 months, they have that option to do that. So I like the question better than what size firm is this right for, to what's the bare minimum budget that we're going to need to allocate to marketing to get involved in this offline space, whether it's billboards, TV, or radio? Where are we starting this conversation?
So that's the $1 million question, right?
Or a
How
multi-million dollar
much
question.
should I invest to grow my business? Well, every market is different. If you are advertising in a smaller market in North or South Carolina versus a New York City, Atlanta, Los Angeles major market, the investment level is going to be far greater in the major markets to achieve the results that the law firm's going to want to get. I think a better way to look at it for any business and a law firm, if you are in growth mode, you want to be spending 20 to 25% of your gross revenue in marketing. Bottom of the funnel, top of the funnel, all of it, all in. If you are in hyper growth mode and you could withstand the patience and the day-to-day agita that you might have from investing big numbers, because it doesn't matter, it's a percentage, you should be closer to 35-40%, and you're going to cut into your own personal profits. You're going to cut into maybe those lovely dinners and vacations to Europe because you're investing in the future. Back to that patience question. I hear all the time, I want to be like Morgan and Morgan. And they are by
Be careful
far,
what you wish for, right?
but they are by far the largest firm in America. And I say to people in that, as soon as they tell me that, that's amazing. I love that you are looking forward 40 years. And they look at me because most of the meetings happen on Zoom initially. What do you mean 40 years? I said, well, John Morgan didn't open up the largest law firm in America 40 years ago. He took an investment into marketing when it was very different. There were 3 networks, and there was radio, and there were some billboards. You didn't see billboards every 100 feet on some of these highways. And inch by inch, it became a cinch. Life by the yard is hard. So I say to these people, great. Now we need to figure out, where are you comfortable based on your gross revenue to invest in your marketing, whether it's with me or somebody else, because I wish I could say I had a market hold on everything. I don't. There's a lot of people out there that are buying digital marketing and top of the funnel marketing. And there's a lot of great agencies out there, but you will hear different philosophies from every single person that you may speak with.
Gary, I really appreciate the way you responded to this question. You gave a percentage. Whether I agree with the percentage or not, as a business person, is not really relevant. I think that I think we can, if we look at your current revenues and we look at where you want to go, we can make those numbers work. But what I'm more interested in knowing is what's the entry level? I understand that it's different for every market. It's different, but if I told you somebody has a budget of $1,000 a month, I'm sure that you're going to say, I can't do anything for them. What is the lowest monthly marketing spend that you can do something for somebody that you feel would be effective in any market? Like what is the entry level to this type of marketing. I just want to kind of create that that entry point, because my job here as the host is to engage our listeners. So if it's $100,000 a month, they're going to shut down and they're going to be like, no, this episode's not for me, right? The amount of attorneys that could spend that kind of money on marketing that are listening to this show are either zero or close to it, right? I may have one or two people in that are listening to this show that are in that category. So give me a number. Don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid to blurt it out. Like, what is a good baseline to be like, hey, if you're willing to spend X amount in marketing a month, let's at least have a conversation about offline marketing. What's that dollar amount?
So again, $1 million question. But if we were in a smaller market, and I'm going to say we're in Lincoln, Nebraska,
Okay.
to do a radio campaign, you have to do one of two things. You either own the market, which would be everything, all stations,
Mm-hmm.
or we're going to go for a piece of the market, whether that's the African American community, the white community, or the Hispanic community. Then what we do is we speak to the market and understand what it's going to be when you're an all-in advertiser on radio. And in Lincoln, Nebraska, it might be $35,000, $40,000 a month, let's say, all in. But if we could own a piece of that market for $10,000 a month, what I would then say to the law firm is, okay, it's going to take anywhere from 6 to 18 months, depending upon what your brand means to the market, or if you are just starting from scratch as a brand new advertiser, then it's going to take a little bit longer. Then we have to look, and I'm going to go back to the PI space because that's where I'm an expert. We look at your average case value. How many cases a month are you bringing in now? So now we have a cost basis that we could work from. So if they spend $10,000 a month in marketing, and now we're assuming the website is where it needs to be,
Mm-hmm.
and their average case value is $15,000 a month, a case, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the year, if they invested $120,000 and they averaged one case per month, 12 new cases over the previous 12 months, whenever you start, you're profitable in your first year. If your average case value is $5,000 a month, the absolute minimum in the first year we want is 2 cases per month. I am a realist. Breaking even is a home run for a first-time advertiser in year 1. It's a home run. Marketing campaigns are measured in years, not months, not weeks. And for two guys sitting here that own two different types of businesses, there are ups and downs in every cycle. What you do with your money with the ups is just as important as what you do with your money in the down month.
Yeah, it's very interesting because, one of the things that we always want to do is create predictability when we're investing heavily in marketing. And I mean, even I've got fractional CFO clients in the, 5 to 10 million revenue space. And even there, like there'll be 2 weeks where the phone just doesn't ring as much as it normally does, right? And they'll start reaching out and freaking out like, oh my gosh, what did the marketing guy do? He broke something. What's my sales staff going to do? They're going to leave. They're not going to get their bonus, and everything starts to like unravel and panic sets in. And I have to tell them like, hey, listen, it's if it goes on for more than 2 weeks, let's have a conversation. But 2 weeks is basically like that. That's the, from experience, that's the period of time that there's a good possibility that you might have a lull. You might, for whatever reason, and who knows what the cause is, where you're just not getting the volume that you're used to. But when you're running a larger firm, millions and millions of dollars a year in revenue, there's a volume of leads that have to come in. I mean, we're talking about hundreds of leads a month. So when it slows down, you can feel it. You know that that's happening. In smaller firms, it's a lot more difficult, right? It's just like, hey, I don't know. I mean, I normally get 2 calls a day, and I only got 1 call a day. It doesn't really, you don't really realize that. So, um, but I love what you're saying, Gary, that, marketing campaigns happen in years. I also appreciate that a break even in year one is a win for you. Um, to put it in perspective, what should we expect, right? From a business standpoint, because I love when we talk to marketers, right? They do marketer math, which is, hey, let me just cover with the revenue, cover the expense of the marketing spend, and call it a win. And now if I can 2x that, let's do that all day long. But the reality is that there's a cost of delivery, right? And you also want to make money. So, and Gary even said at the beginning, he's like, hey, your budget should be 25% of revenue. Well, that means that you need to 4x the spend for it to be 25% of the revenue. So our goal is not break even. So Gary, somebody breaks even in year one. How long do you think it's going to be until they're doing a 4x or 5x return on their spend? Um, with that campaign? Are we talking about year two, or is it like, no, year 4, year 5 is when we finally start to see that?
So part of that answer, I'm going to throw the onus back on the law firm
Mm-hmm.
because there are firms out there that have a $5,000 case value in PI or workers' comp, and there are firms that have $80,000 case value.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of the day, the hardest thing to look at is internal. Are we taking care of our clients the best that we can? Are we filing suit on cases? Are the insurance companies scared of what your firm may do to help your client? So again, based upon the number of leads that come in, then the number of wants you have. So if you get 10 leads and of those 10, you're getting 6 that you want, you better be signing up 5 of those 6. And then you have to do great legal work for these people to bring your case value up, to make your marketing even more effective than just the leads coming in. Because nobody's in the business, and marketing agencies, like you just said, talk about leads. Oh, we got you 100 leads this month. Well, you're going to have leads that you don't want. You're going to have people that call that just crashed into somebody else. It was their fault, yet they want to hire an attorney and recover money. Because when you listen to the radio, watch television, and drive around, little market to big market, personal injury lawyers dominate the airwaves across the country. It's the number one local category of marketing in America today.
Yeah,
So
and the reason is because if you do that marketing all the time and you land 1, 2, or 3 really large cases, it made it all make sense, right? There's no other business out there that when they put marketing, they can get one client who will have a, $100 to $300,000 revenue payoff, right? And I think that's why PI is the most dominant, advertiser out there, but also the most dominant within the legal space, right? It becomes much more difficult for a family law attorney to be able to make the numbers work because they're not going to have that potential of a $300,000 client. Every client is going to be whatever, whatever they are. But I think that you're bringing up a really good point, which is, hey, it's not all on the marketing. The marketing is going to bring the leads in. It's going to get the phone to ring. But what's your conversion rate of turning those leads into customers? Is your sales staff trained as well as they can be? In other words, are we converting the maximum amount of customers into clients? And then are we pricing our services right? I mean, in PI, it's a percentage. So there, it's a question of, how far down the road are you going with that client to get them the maximum payout? But in other practice areas, one of the things that, when you're a small firm, you're not mature enough to invest in this kind of marketing, not because you're not ready financially, but because you haven't arrived at the right price point for your service. So many law firms start off charging too little because they feel like that's the only way they can compete in the marketplace. The reality is that price has nothing to do with it. I mean, I try to, I talk to my coaching clients all the time about this, and maybe I need to do like a whole episode on it, but 80% of the people who are coming in and having a conversation with you are not talking to your competition. This competition thing is so blown out of proportion, right? Like, you don't have competition in the marketplace. The competition's on the marketing side. If your phone rang and you answered the phone, chances are you're the only firm they're talking to. And therefore, don't be afraid to charge the value that you're providing. Estate planning attorneys who are charging $2,000 for a trust are never going to be able to spend this kind of money. You've got to get to $7,000 for that will and trust that you're doing in order to be able to, for any marketing to start to make sense to you, because it takes 3.5 clients to produce the same amount of revenue as one client can produce if you just charge it. I have a coaching client that is a litigation attorney, and he was charging. He's in a small market, and he was at the top of what other attorneys are charging $325 an hour. And I told him, I said, you're providing a value to your clients. You're the best in class, right? You're the best attorney in town. If somebody wants to get a win, they're coming to you. So charge for that. And I told him, I said, look, you're fully booked. You have nothing to lose. Charge $425 an hour. He did that for a week, got 3 clients, didn't bat an eye, didn't ask questions about his price, $425 an hour. I said, great. Now go to $525 an hour, right? Like, you don't know what the peak that you should be charging is until you've tested the marketplace and ran the numbers and analyzed the data and figured it out. And until you're getting no's, you're not charging enough. Now, this is for people who are charging flat fee or hourly. If you're in PI or any contingency practice, then the contingency is the contingency, right? You can't change that, but you could change the value of the case, and you can put things in place. For example, it's not just, do I litigate, do I not litigate in PI? But how good are you at encouraging your client to go to their doctor's appointments, right? If they don't treat, they're going to get less. If they treat, they're going to get more. How hard is it to hire some international VAs who cost you $2,000 a month to just be on your clients and make sure they're going to appointments? Give them their appointment reminder. Ask them if they need a taxi. Like, figure out a way to make sure that they're at that appointment, right? If you do that with client after client after client, you're going to start to elevate the payouts of your clients. $5, $10, $15,000. That will change the average case value. That will change how much you can invest in marketing. That will change the return on ad spend. So Gary brings a really, really good point, which is, hey, it's not the marketing guy's job to do all the lifting. You've got to have all these pieces working for you. You've got to be taking good care of your leads, answering the phone, dealing with them when they come in. You've got to have a good process. You have to have training for your sales team. You got to get them to be closing at the highest rate possible. You have to have the maximum price point, maximum value for your clients, so you could elevate the average value of every client that comes in. When all those pieces are working together, then we can look at the number and say, okay, is this good or is this bad? Gary, your thoughts?
I agree with you wholeheartedly. And just to step back to that younger or law firm that has not been marketing, that's afraid to compete with the big boys or big girls. If you don't, you'll stay where you are for the rest of time. If you work with the right people who actually care about your business and want to be a part of your growth and success, you take that step and you start investing. What you do with each person that comes to you is what's going to matter. Now, as a financial guy, Moshe, this will be interesting. And I speak about this with most of the firms I work with. But let's say, just to keep numbers simple, the average case value is $10,000. And you settle a case, and the value to the firm on this case is $100,000. You got some choices to make. Wow, you hit a home run. You 10 times your average case. I say to them, you take your 10 normal business, you have 90 more. Put 45 back into your business, however you put it back into your business, and put 45 into something else, whether that's just an operating account or you want to go take a vacation with the family, you want to give yourself a bonus. I leave that to the lawyer, owner, and their financial professional. But if you take 45 of that to reinvest into your business, all of a sudden now you could start touching another piece of the market. And if you do great work like that, the success should be duplicable. Correct?
Yes.
So instead of getting one case this year with $100,000 fee, maybe you get 3, 4, or maybe 10 this year. What happened to your law firm if that's the case? So it's a really bad analogy, and I hope I don't offend anyone here. But once you start marketing, marketing becomes the heroine of the law firm.
Yeah, I look, I think that the example you gave is very PI specific. There's very few other practice areas of law where you're going to have a big fish come in, right? Like it's just not, in estate planning or in um in family law and criminal defense. Well, criminal defense is another good example where you could have a murder trial come in and and it becomes a really big case. But again, not like PI where the really big case doesn't and I'm going to get hate mail from the PI attorneys, doesn't exponentially increase the work involved to get that case to completion. You're doing the same stuff and you're getting a better payout. It takes a little bit longer, but with a murder trial, you're going to put the time in to earn that money. But still, it's one client that produces a large amount of revenue. But most practice areas are not going to have that happen. So it's really slow and steady is going to win the race. But marketing still is the heroine of the business, right? Like, I mean, I hate that analogy because I'm not, I'm also a paramedic, so heroin is is definitely
It's
something we want to stay
awful.
away from.
It,
But but when you start to invest in your marketing and you have successful marketing and you start to get a taste of how that can consistently get the phone to ring, and it creates new challenges for you, like, wow, how do I deal with all these leads? And I need to put a salesman on, and I need, you start to do those things and you grow up, right? As a firm owner, you start to recognize the value of investing in your marketing. There's only two areas to invest in your law firm: your marketing and your people. Your people are your inventory. Your marketing is going to get the inventory sold. And that's how business has grown. So whether it's I won a big case, I have extra money, I'm going to now invest in my firm, or I'm going to go borrow from grandma, raid my 401k, or go to the bank and get a line of credit, and I'm going to invest in my firm, it's going to require investment that happens before the result that is going to produce the result that you desire. The question is, are you ready to do that? And where should you do it? And that's really the biggest challenge, right? Like, okay, great. I've got I've got $200,000 in the bank. I'm ready to spend $20,000 a month in marketing, or 10,000 a month in marketing, and add staff at $10,000 a month. And that's how I'm going to spend this money. Where do I spend my $10,000?
So here's something very interesting. Whether you are a family lawyer, you are a criminal defense lawyer, you're a personal injury lawyer, there's a lot more people that need divorce than need a personal injury lawyer. There's a lot more people that need a DUI ticket or a speeding ticket where they hire a lawyer. So you can market in those areas as well. And yes, I did digress towards PI. But most of these law firms and law firm owners have friends within the business, because there's a lot of referrals that happen within the legal community. So the first thing I would do if I owned a law firm today is I would speak to some of the marketing attorneys to find out, because they're friends. So hopefully they're going to just be open and honest. They might not give you everything, but they're going to give you nuggets. What's worked? What hasn't worked? Who have you worked with that you really enjoyed working with? Who have you worked with that you weren't as comfortable with? And we've all had those. The great relationships and ones where we unfortunately had to sever ties. Sometimes it's over work that wasn't up to par. Sometimes it was over fee and what it's going to cost. But all those decisions can be made by having conversations with people like yourself. I can tell you, I got a call from a young attorney in California, and I do 90% of my hunting via Instagram, Facebook, and watching what law firms are doing. And I had this great conversation with this young attorney who's going to have a huge firm one day. And he says, I really want to get on the radio. And after a 45-minute conversation, I said to him, and we didn't know each other, Moshe, at the time, I referred him to a business coach, law firm growth coach. And I said, this is a better hire for you today to get your business in order and how to work a case and how to make your client's experience the best in California. And then as you watch your case acquisition go up, your case value go up, then you'd be ready for somebody like me to help spread the word. I work with a client, again, I'm not going to say the market, highest verdict in his state, 20 years running. 20 years running. And he heard me speak at a conference and he says, why do people hire these mills out there? They don't do great legal work. And I knew a little bit. He told me that he does a lot on the web. And I said, let me ask you a question. Your firm's been in business 2 generations, 50 years. When was the last time you invited people to do business with you? He's like, never. I said, so why would somebody find you or call you? And he says, if they're educated, they will. And I looked at him and I said, most of your personal injury clients are not the most educated consumers. And they're not, unfortunately. And he started a radio campaign 16 months ago, having never advertised before. He's now in 3 markets because he's getting people to call the firm who want to hire the firm, and his sales staff intake team is doing a great job. And one of the things that, back to personal injury for a moment versus family law, once they get everything back from the insurance company and all parties, they kind of have an idea what the case value could be worth because they know how much insurance is out there. A family lawyer, you could advertise one price and get divorced for $5,000, or you could charge hourly, which I paid my lawyer for my divorce and my ex-wife's lawyer hourly. I learned real quick, don't send texts.
Well, yeah, when I went through it, it was don't pick up the phone, right? If the moment you call your attorney, it's an immediate bill. Yeah.
So at the end of the day, what I would say to any aspiring lawyer out there, no matter what field you're in, you must have a website and it must be great. You should be doing SEO and pay-per-click and finding the right partner to help you there. Then you do radio, TV, billboards, but you better own a piece of something so you could win long term. And if you manage your money properly and you have the right business coach, you will reinvest in your business year after year after year. And those percentages can start to come down because you're not in hyper growth mode at some point. What is the number of years? Magical question. What do you want from your law firm? Where do you want it to be? And you spoke about the sole proprietor. There might be that person out there who is very content just the way they are. And then you have those who want to reach for the sky and build something really special. And here's the way I look at my business and the law firms that we work with business. We are both in the business of helping people. And if that's what you actually care about, your work will be great. No different than raising children. Go all the way back. We do the best we can. We give our children all that we have emotionally and financially. And there's points where we have to say no, and it hurts. But we'd rather say yes. And if we do it right, we lead them to the water. They make smart decisions, just like your potential clients will make smart decisions by hiring your firm.
Yeah, one thing that I forgot to mention when I was talking about all the different things that you could do to really harness the power of the marketing that's coming in, and you reminded me about the fact that I had thought of this and not said it when you talked about the relationships, right? Like, so lawyers refer business to lawyers, and this is really a place where a lot of attorneys are leaving money on the table. So I'm going to leave this nugget from my perspective, and then I'm going to ask you to leave a nugget too. But there's, no matter what marketing you're doing, the phone is going to ring with somebody who is either not in your geographic market or they're not looking for the practice area you serve. And your firm has a choice, right? You can tell them, "Oh, I'm so sorry, we don't serve your area. Oh, I'm so sorry, we don't serve that practice area. We're a personal injury firm. You need a family law attorney." That could be the end of the conversation. Or you can have relationships developed and a network of attorneys that you are going to send business to. Whether you take a referral fee or not is up to you. You can totally do that and actually cash in on that marketing without needing to get your hands dirty, right? Or you're just sending those cases goodwill. Hey, I've got a lead that came in. I think that they're perfect for you. You do a warm intro. You don't just give them the name and phone number of the attorney. No, you get their information. You tell them, hey, let me try to get attorney so-and-so on the line. Oh, if I can't reach them, I'll do an email intro for you. I'll make sure that they call you back. And you make that connection. Here's what happens. You do that over and over and over again. And guess what the attorneys you're referring business to are going to do? They're going to
It-
look for opportunities to send business your way. So you're turning a lead that's not a lead for you into the goodwill that's going to end up bringing the right lead back to you. So that's another area that nobody talks about it, right? But you're all experiencing it. There's no attorney out there that doesn't get a phone call. Now, when you're really early on, you have a tendency to say yes to everything that you don't do, right? And try to be the answer to everybody. But I will tell you that that is the last place you want to be. As a matter of fact, one of the very early episodes we did, it was episode 30 something. My team will link it up in the show notes, called Why Choosing a Niche Will Skyrocket Your Firm. Really important to get hyper focused, not just in the practice area, but even within the practice area, what you specifically do, because Gary would agree that if you just do scaffolding injuries or you just do truck accidents, you're going to have a much easier time marketing than if you do all injury, because you could talk to the subset of the market. You can talk to the person who's having that problem, and they're much more likely to want to do something with the person who's got experience in their specific situation than the broader situation. So the more specific you are, the easier your marketing gets. The harder it is to find people, but the easier the marketing gets. So go check out that episode in our archives and just keep this in mind. Like all it requires is developing some relationships on the front end, having a Rolodex, I'm dating myself, but having that, that list of attorneys that you refer business to, and then training your staff on the proper way to do a referral. And boom, it's done. It's implemented. It becomes a process that you guys follow, and it will start to produce results for you as well. Gary, I'm going to give you an opportunity. We're out of time. Give you an opportunity to leave one parting piece of advice or wisdom with our audience. Let them know how to connect with you. And I think we just touched the tip of the iceberg on this conversation. So perhaps down the road, we bring you back and continue where we left off.
So the party nugget, I don't care what type of law firm you have, you must invite people to do business with you. You don't have to start with radio, television, and billboards. You could start right there in your local community, getting involved in events, getting involved with food banks, getting known, be known, stand for something. And as you grow, and as you do great work for the people that hire you, ask for the review, ask for the referral, and stay in touch with your clients. At one point in your future, you will be able to go out and reach the masses, however it is you do it. And when that time comes, have a conversation with 3 or 4 professionals that are specialists in the marketing space, and hire the one that you feel most comfortable with, that's an expert in whatever medium that you're going to go into, and then plan for years of doing it together. If you'd like to speak to me about radio, television, or billboards, my cell phone is 954-560-6371. Instagram, Gary Sarner, or ROI360 plus PLUS. I call myself the most responsive person in marketing, and I will continue to do that for the rest of my career.
Love it, Gary. Thank you so much, folks. Everything that we shared is going to be summarized in the show notes for this episode, including any links like what Gary just shared, how to get in touch with him, the previous podcast episode that I talked about. And if you're looking to grow your firm, accelerate your firm, and you're in one of two categories, either I'm trying to figure out how to get beyond solo, or I am trying to get my firm to grow and be profitable at a 30 to 40% profit margin and you're doing at least 3 million in revenue, then we can help you. For those smaller firms trying to go beyond solo, we have our elite program. You can check it out at profitwithlaw.com/elite. And if you're looking for the help with that growth, what you really need in place is a CFO. Now, you're probably not ready for a full-time CFO, which is where fractional CFOs come in. We can have a conversation around how we help clients with that, how we can step in and help your business in that way. If that's something that you're interested in having a conversation about, send an email to info@dreambuilderfinancial.com, info@dreambuilderfinancial.com. My team will set up a call with myself or somebody else on the team to go through your business. It's a deep dive into your financials, your plan, where you want to go, and really getting to understand your business and how we can perhaps help you facilitate the growth and the change that you're looking for. Folks, I encourage you to reach out to Gary, even if you don't know if you're ready, you don't think you're ready, but you're curious. Is this for me? He had a conversation with the young man who was too new, too early, too not quite ready. And he told him, hey, look, let me connect you with a business coach who can help you get through the first stages of growth and then come back to me. He's not afraid to tell you that you're not ready. I think it's worth a conversation that's specific about your market, that's specific about what you're trying to accomplish, to see perhaps it might be more affordable than you thought. Perhaps you might be ready. Perhaps there's a way to get you ready fairly quickly, and you can start to get that larger exposure that you've always wanted, but we're always afraid to do. So I think it starts with a conversation. Start there, and then you can see, explore with Gary what that looks like. Gary, thanks so much for being here. Really appreciate your wisdom, and also spending your time with us. We went over our allotted time slot, so really appreciate everything that you shared. And this was a really good conversation around the importance of family, leading into really the nuts and bolts of what marketing is supposed to do, and then how important all the other pieces of your operation are. We can't look at marketing in a silo. So great conversation. I really encourage you to go back, listen again, take some notes, because there was golden nuggets throughout this episode. Folks, we're here every single Thursday with a brand new podcast interview. Excited to share the next one with you next week. Make sure you hit the subscribe button in your podcast player so that you get notified when that episode releases. And I'm excited for what's to come, excited for what we've provided in the past. We're approaching almost 500 episodes, I think. So we'll have some big splash when that happens. But really appreciate you, the listener, for tuning in and listening to the show. And I just want you to know that we're here to support you in whichever way that we can. So if you want to drop us an email and let us know what you'd like to hear, or what you're excited about, or what you really enjoyed, we'd love to hear that feedback from you. Again, that email, info@dreambuilderfinancial.com. Take care, folks. We'll see you next week.